Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the My Experience, Your Experience podcast. I'm Walker.
And I'm Lori. And today's episode, or this episode, is a very special one. Since we started this podcast, Walker, you and I, we had talked about, would we actually ever have guests? Would we do interviews on our podcast? And our answer was always
Yes, absolutely.
yes. We definitely wanted to have guests. And we started listing a whole long list. We have a long list of people that we want to chat with.
Yes, we do.
But from the very first day, we always had two people we wanted to speak to. We knew were going to be our first interview. And who was that, Walker?
Keith and Kerwin of Father-Son-Galaxy podcast.
Yes, we wanted to talk to them. We so wanted them to be our very first special guests on our podcast. And why was that, Walker?
Because they were our inspiration for creating our own podcast, which you are seeing right now.
Yes, 100%. We got introduced to them a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. We loved their dynamic. We enjoyed their conversations. And then about a year ago, summer of 2023, we got to meet them in person.
Yes.
And we just hit it off.
We did.
We just identified with them so perfectly, based off of their relationship with one another, right? Father, parent, and child, and also their passion for all the different topics that they love, because they're the same topics that we love, right? Yes. So we loved their format. We loved their conversations. And after we met them, Walker and I were like, we need to do our own podcast, because we've had so many similar conversations, right? From a mother-son perspective, different generation perspective. I'm Gen X.
I'm Gen Z.
Yep. And we just thought that would be kind of a fun dynamic. So we started on that path, but we also realized we don't know what we're doing. So we thought having Keith and Kerwin on, the main thing we wanted to talk to them more about was what? Podcasting. We wanted to find out what it was like, what inspired them to start a podcast. How did they start their podcasts?
And where do they plan on taking their podcasts?
Yeah, where they plan on taking it in the future, and then maybe they can give us some tips and tricks.
Yeah.
So those are all the questions that we asked them, plus a bunch of fun ones too.
Yeah, lots of geeky
conversations.
Star Wars stuff.
And so we hope you enjoyed this conversation, and maybe you'll be inspired to start your own podcast.
Yeah.
So enjoy. Okay. Hey everyone. We are so excited to have Kerwin and Keith from Father-Son-Galaxy podcast as our very first guests on our own podcast. There are a whole bunch of reasons why we wanted to have Keith and Kerwin as our first guests, but the main reason is because they were the inspiration for our podcast. We love how they share their passion for Star Wars, Marvel, and so many other things as father and son, and share those conversations out with the world. And Walker and I have had similar conversations for years. Walker's 20, so it's been a very long time. And we thought, wouldn't that be fun to do something similar? So we thought the best people to have those conversations with to kick off our first guest would be Kerwin and Keith, to get their insight about what it's been like to have a podcast.
Yeah.
So welcome, Kerwin and Keith, to our very first guest episode.
How exciting.
It is super exciting.
Thank you. What an honor. Yeah, and a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan of your podcast as well. You know, so we love, family connection, and not just family, but the chemistry that you have. Some family members may not have chemistry, but you and Walker are fantastic together, and it just, your story is so much like our story. Lori, you and I, come from the same era, same background. We were around at the right time, for films like Star Wars and Marvel and anything else. So I really
Jones, all those great things.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So we can raise our children with all that, right?
Exactly.
It's been so great. So I was watching one of your more recent episodes, and I had noticed that you guys were a little MIA, and I was like, what's up with Father Son Galaxy podcast, and like they've been kind of quiet. So I had been wondering what you guys were up to, and then when I was listening in on that podcast, I heard you guys moved.
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for missing us.
We're like, where's
Yeah,
Keith and Kerwin?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, we did move. We're still in Pennsylvania. We're further away from Philadelphia. We're more now southern Pennsylvania. So like any other move, requires a lot of work. Um, you know, you know, just moving day.
Yeah.
Well, even before moving day, settlement day,
Yeah.
is a normal day thing, and then moving day the next day, and just getting acclimated, getting furniture, and registering the kids for new schools. So that took up a lot of time, and before we knew it, it was 2 months since we had our last podcast. So
That's
we're glad to be back. Yeah.
We've been more of it's like little like summer vacations and summer things and
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I know, but we just don't have the time. We don't have the time. But this one here, he's always like, Mom, like you said, content.
We gotta get the content.
I know. Do you guys have a designated podcast room in the new house?
Yeah. Well, right now it's in our basement. So we are coming to you from the center of our basement.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which actually it's actually pretty nice, because it's a big basement. So we have just a little section of it designated for the podcast area. So this is it.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, right.
Walker up. Walker's turn to ask some questions.
So since you moved, Keith, does this mean that you are going to a new school now? And what grade are you going into? And are you excited?
I know.
Yeah, I'm a little more nervous than I am excited because, new school, new grade, new people. But yeah, I'm going into the 7th grade, so.
7th grade. Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Big changes.
Oh, yeah.
I know that always comes into play, right? Like when you're making those decisions. So I know. So what was I going to say about 7th grade? What do you take language in 7th grade?
I think.
You think?
Well,
Yeah.
in 6th grade, you took, was it French?
Well, I took like all the languages, like German, French, and Spanish.
Oh, good.
And then I was supposed to take them in 7th grade, but I moved, so never mind.
Yeah. So now you have to find out how that system works, huh? Well, I'm sure it'll be exciting. There'll be lots of new things, and then you can share with them, all your new friends. Check out my podcast. So that leads us to our first question.
Yeah.
Like we said, we wanted to have you guys on because you inspired us to start doing it. So we really want to know what made you want to start a podcast?
Yep. Well, it was 2021. Well, even before that, let's go back before that because 2019, I was thinking about The Mandalorian first season. I think that dropped in the fall of 2019.
Yeah.
And of course we were hooked. What would happen the day after we watched the episode is we're sitting at the breakfast table or the dinner table and we're talking about last night's episode. And we just couldn't get enough of it, Din Djarin and Grogu and the adventures of the two of them. And Tanya was just sat and listened one day, and then maybe another day she came back with a camera and she started to record our conversation.
And then on Facebook.
Yeah, and then she played it back for us. And then she says, "You guys are pretty good. You should consider getting your own podcast." And I said, "Well, no, that's too far. I'm not going to do that." But you're right. So Keith is right. Tanya posted it on Facebook, and we got some positive feedback from it. And she said it again. You need to have your own podcast. People are, there aren't that many father-son podcasters out there. And I said, well, I got to go to school for stuff like that. I don't know how to be a podcaster. I'm not into broadcast or anything. So Tanya just took it upon herself and she researched the podcasting equipment. She picked out the camera and the microphones and everything. One day we came back and we got all these boxes from Amazon.
I love it.
And didn't know what was in it. And then she made sure that we were not in the house. And we came back a few hours later and she had all the equipment set up and ready to go.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know it was like, it's intimidating, right? Like I know a few people, I have friends who have podcasts and I listen to podcasts, but it was like, well, how do you do it? Like we've done the similar things. Like we'll be sitting in the car and we'll be having a conversation and I'm like, well, I want to record this. I want to capture this. And I've done similar things. I've had some conversations with Walker and his brother and have shared them on Facebook. And everybody's like, I love listening to your conversations. And but like doing the next step, right? Like how do you record it? Where does it post? There's so many things, and we're still learning too. We have plans. We just making the time for the plans, right? Is the hard part.
It's really a family operation because Keith handles the editing. He took an editing course during the pandemic in 2020. He took an online editing course for CapCut.
With stop motion.
Stop motion. Well, right. It started with stop motion animation.
Oh, with the Legos, right?
With the
that
Lego,
you did for Mark and Figgy.
That's exactly right. And then you took an editing course, right?
No,
I thought you took a CapCut editing course.
No,
got that wrong. Okay, all right.
I mean, my friend recommended CapCut to me, and I just figured it out.
It's
okay,
amazing
well,
what
so
kids
you
can.
learned editing how?
By doing it.
Okay, I see. Okay, and he's very good at it. So
I was
he
gonna say,
does
Keith, I'm the same. I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I'm like, okay, I can figure this out.
So he's very good at that. Tanya is the person who does all the promotion. She'll create the thumbnails, and she'll post on the socials to let people know. She'll upload. Well, Keith will upload a video to YouTube, and then she'll have it set up ready to play at a certain time of the day. And what I do is I write show notes for the episodes, and just create an outline that we're going to follow. And after that, at the beginning, it was more scripted, right? So we would read from a page, but we felt, okay, well, that's not natural enough. That we were just going to go ahead and just be ourselves and just take a subject and just talk about it off the top of our head. And that's how it's been ever since.
Yeah, I like this more spontaneous. Our first episode was more scripted, but it was like get to know us, and so we wanted to make sure we, hit all the points that we wanted to hit. But we try to be more just off the cuff.
Yeah,
we totally get that.
So what has been your favorite thing about doing a podcast?
Well, what has been, which is a surprise for us because we had no idea who would be watching. But the story goes, well, actually, Mark Daniel, you know who Mark is. So I'm actually going to tell, I'm telling the story this way, that it's Mark. This is all Mark. Mark knows people.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he has a great contact base. And he just spread the word about our podcast, and he told Ashley Eckstein about the podcast. And she checked it out and she loved it. And she submitted our names to the publicity team. And then that's how we've been able to get on these press releases and press junkets and interviewing celebrities and people in Star Wars, behind the scenes, writers, actors. That's the best part of doing a podcast. And that was not something that we expected because, there are so many podcasters out there that have never been invited to a press release, so we thought, it would take us years to even get on that kind of platform, but, it's because we knew the right people, so that was is very exciting. And I would say that's the best part of doing this podcast is just to talk to your heroes, talk to people that I never thought I'd be able to have a conversation with.
What do you think, Keith? What's your favorite part? Same, or do you have other things that you like about podcasting?
I'd say all the fun trips that we get to go on.
Yeah,
that's one of the greatest parts about the show. Just flying out to all these events and Comic-Cons and stuff.
Yeah, good
that's
point.
so cool.
Yeah,
So, do you like sharing it with your dad?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's better now.
Yeah, he's really good. He's a natural. Like he's not afraid to speak in front of a crowd of people. Maybe
except when they're children.
Maybe.
Yeah, you don't like to talk to the kids. He only talks to the adults.
Yeah, but I was not like that at his age. I needed, coaxing to get me to talk in front of 5 people. But when we go to these conventions and cons, we're talking to tens, 20, 50 people, in one room, listening to every word we're saying. It's amazing, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and the best part is interacting and making sure that the crowd is involved and they're asking questions and they're giving their opinions. It's awesome.
And I try to think about like when we were a kid and our parents, like what kind of thing would we have done that was in a similar way, that we would a similar experience, and I can't I can't really think. But my parents were big into the CB culture, you know, the breaker 19er, like on the radio. You know, that was they all had handles. They had a CB radio in the corner of the kitchen and they would talk to people. And I guess that was the early days of podcasting and maybe the early days of like Facebook, right? Like social media, you would reach out that way.
That's the way of thinking about it.
And they would bring us to these gatherings where like all these people with all their handles, like my dad was Spider and my mom was Coffee Brandy.
What was your name again? You had
Pumpkinhead. I was
Pumpkinhead, that's what
My
it
head's
was.
round. And we would go to these like gatherings that were similar to these conventions. So I guess that was like the earliest, but and they would put us on the radio sometimes. They're like, come here, Pumpkinhead, talk to the people out in the world. So it was similar, but I just don't remember sharing certain, like kids did kid things and adults did adult things. And I think nowadays there's more of a bonding between like multi-generational opportunities for us parents with our kiddos.
Yeah.
So what has been the hardest part about doing the podcast? It sounds like maybe that kickoff, right? Like getting it all rolling, but has there been any other challenges?
That's part of it. It's the behind the scenes work of the editing and the dropping videos. Yeah, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
What also is a challenge is time. This is, although we love it, it's not our full-time job.
Yeah.
We're sharing this time with, things that we do to earn a living. And obviously that comes first. It's a priority for us to make sure that our full-time jobs are being fulfilled before we can do a podcast. So there are times when we don't have time.
Yeah.
We've been doing live streams, I guess, close to a year now. Usually on a Wednesday.
Since She-Hulk, right?
Yeah, well, that might be longer than a year.
Yeah.
So we thought,
Andor.
and we enjoy live streams, but
Almost 2 years.
but something could happen at the very last minute where maybe something, I get a major problem happening on the job and I have to work overtime and I'll have to cancel the live stream. And those things I don't like doing because I don't like to disappoint anyone who is listening or watching and expecting us to come on at 7:30 a particular night. It's just very disappointing to me, but it's life, so yeah, time is something that, we're trying to manage. What we've been thinking about maybe is not trying to do too much, because we've been at this for 3 years and we have a lot of content out there right now. So I think it's okay if we step back a little bit and say, okay, well, maybe we won't do a live stream twice a week. Maybe we'll reduce it to once a week or maybe once every other week. So we're still working out a schedule. So I would say for me, the hardest part is just finding the time to actually put together a live stream or a recording.
That's what, like we were going back, like Walker was saying, Mom, we need to do another one, we have to keep it. We don't want to like let too much time lag. And then I feel the pressure and I have my full-time job and I have the kids to get around and I have some side jobs. And so it's the juggling of everything. I love the concept of a live stream because you can engage with your followers. And I do love that. Like that's what I love about social media. And, it's just, I enjoy bonding with other people, mostly share about our common passions. But at the same time, I feel like we just can't commit to a steady, like every Tuesday at 6:00 because like work might get in the way or you might get called into your job or so it's that. I think that's a challenge. So but and you guys, I always see your live streams. I'm like, I want to tune in for the live stream, but usually I'm in the middle of doing something else, so I was like, I'll have to catch it later. But I think the best thing about the live stream is that you can make the comment and then you guys respond back, right? Like that's the cool part of the live stream.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And that's what we like. We want it to be interactive. We want people to, ask questions or just make comments, and be engaged. That's how you grow your base, So so the live streams are very important, but you're right. We want to be consistent with it. So, still got to work out the time schedule.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why don't you ask the next question?
Okay. So who has been your favorite guest so far that you've had on the podcast?
You've had some great guests.
Yes.
That must be really hard to decide.
That's a good question. Do you have
Keith?
any?
You want to guess? Answer first.
You got this, Seth.
Okay.
You got this. Who's been your favorite guest?
Well, that's
Steve?
interesting because I know you've had some people that was very exciting. You never thought you would interview. No one comes to mind. Well, I mean,
Well, Ashley Eckstein, that's one.
there you go, Ashley Eckstein.
That was a crazy
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah, that was you want to I'll go into that. Yeah, so Keith is a big Ahsoka fan and he's read the Ahsoka novel
Okay.
countless times. Countless. I mean, that book was in circulation from our library for 2 years. He just kept renewing it. But so Ashley Eckstein was his favorite. And then when Mark surprised us with that video recording that Ashley made, that was absolutely fantastic. And then we wanted her back. And so we decided that for our 2nd-year anniversary of the podcast, that we would have her as our guest. And she made the time out of her busy schedule, made the time to talk to us. So wonderful. Yeah.
So awesome.
That was wonderful.
When Walker turned 16, it was during the
Wasn't I
pandemic.
16?
I think it was 16.
Was I 16 or 7? I think it was. Yeah, it was 16.
16. It was during the pandemic. Was it during the pandemic? It was right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic.
Yeah, so the pandemic didn't happen. His birthday's right after the holidays, so it's hard to like gather people together. And he was having a really rough time. It was probably like the first birthday that you didn't actually have a party, that sort of thing. And I've actually, I've had the pleasure of knowing Ashley for a really long time. And so I messaged her through Instagram and I said, hey, Walker's having a really rough time right now, and he's about to turn 16, and it would be really awesome if you could, could you send him a birthday message? So her and David recorded a message and dropped it into his DMs on Instagram.
I think what it was is that we were dropping off my brother at his D&D session in Randolph, and I fall asleep in the car all the time, and I was fast asleep, and then mom woke me up. She's like, Walker. I'm like, what? And she's like, look, check your Instagram.
Check your Instagram.
I'm like, okay. And I pull up the video, and it's Ashley and David sending me a happy birthday message. And I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing.
She just brings so much joy,
she does,
to everything. So, I could totally. I know you guys have. I would have to say when you interviewed Billy D. Williams, that one, like we were listening to it in the car, and I got so choked up. Didn't I? I was crying. I was so crying because I was just so happy for you guys, like to have that opportunity. We've listened to a bunch of your interviews, and you've interviewed so many wonderful people. We're super jealous. But the Billy D. Williams seemed one. It's just not somebody that you get to talk to every day.
Yeah, it's like a once in a lifetime experience that you get.
Yeah, it was incredible. I wish I had more time to speak with him. We only had like maybe 20 minutes, but we had to make it the best 20 minutes that we could. I had to make sure that I told him how much I appreciate him, seeing him as a role model for young kids, for young Black kids who saw this man up on the screen, and he's larger than life. So I want to make sure that he knew how much he's appreciated.
Yeah.
Walker and I have been listening to the audio book of Dark Force Rising. So that's the Timothy Zahn, the second book of the original trilogy. We already did Heir to the Empire. So now we've been listening to Dark Force Rising, and there's a lot of Lando in it. And I love the Lando scenes. He's just so cool.
Yeah, he's really cool in those books.
Absolutely cool. So cool. No one like him.
He's totally awesome. All right. So I guess I'm the next question, right? All right. So the next question I have for you guys is, what is your hope for the future of the podcast? Do you have any big plans? Would you do anything different? I know so many podcasts that I know expand into other things. Do you guys have you thought about it, or you're just having fun doing what you're doing?
Well, for one thing, we're gonna start moving to a lot more Patreon content.
Oh, okay.
So we do actually have a Patreon where we're gonna start posting videos more regularly, hopefully.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, honestly, like I said, if we had more time, that we can do a lot more. But good point with Keith, doing something on the Patreon. I just like us to attend more conventions.
Yeah.
I think I think it helps to build an audience when you're out there in person.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about big ones. I would love to go to Comic-Con one day.
San Diego.
Um,
Never been.
Ooh,
yes, there you go.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Going back to the Fan Expo, Philadelphia, that's like our annual event, but I'd like to go to more cities, like love to go to Tennessee and maybe Canada,
Yeah,
Montreal.
I would really enjoy going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say Chicago again. That was a really lovely
yes.
trip.
Chicago is very
And go to
nice.
the second con.
The
The
second
second con.
Yeah, there's two cons in Chicago.
Oh,
Oh,
brother. Yes, that's
E2,
right. Yeah.
E2, the
Yes, right. The C2,
I don't
E2.
know.
C2
Exactly.
too. Yeah.
Yes, right. And then
What?
so I have to go out there to San Francisco. Yeah. So for us, it would be just to, you know, of course, it comes with funding to
Yes.
take these vacations. But yeah, I would love to travel more to different cities and actually be on stage, live on stage, and help grow our audience. Really, our primary goal right now is just to grow the audience.
Very cool. Yeah, and we're still under 100 right now, but
Slowly but surely.
slowly
You
but
gotta
surely, we're
you gotta start somewhere.
we do it for the fun of it,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's all. If there's a handful of our friends out there who enjoy listening to us having these conversations, that makes us happy. But we would love to go to some.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What about
Yeah.
Star Wars celebrations? Would you love to go to those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've been to our first one was in 22 in Anaheim. Not going to make it to Japan next year. I'm hoping in 27.
Mm,
And maybe back in the States.
yeah, that would be nice.
Uh, that would be awesome. And that would be really cool because I think that might be a big one because that's going to be the 50th anniversary of Star Wars
Oh,
in
that's
20,
right. Oh my
20
Kerwin,
yeah. So
you're making me feel old, dude.
yeah, so, so I'm sure they're going to have something big going on for
Yeah,
that, but for that celebration.
most
But
definitely. Well, we
Japan
hope.
25 is going to be nice, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, there's a small chance that we might be able to make it, but we would
You
be.
just have to make some calls.
Nice.
Yeah,
Such.
we would be working it, but not working it podcast wise. We'd be working it like how behind the scenes. That's what we typically do at
That's what we did last
celebration.
year. Yep.
So we'll see.
Awesome.
But maybe we can do some like little side content, our own little like
Mhm.
like some of the things that we like to do are just a quick little Instagram live. Like that's our like if we just want to get some content out there, but don't want to plan a whole podcast episode. We're like, let's just do this quick live stream about what we thought of Deadpool, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what we've been doing. So
Have you
that
been
actually
to Japan before?
never been to Japan.
No.
Never been.
Walker and I have both been to China.
We've been to China before, but we haven't been to Japan.
Yeah,
before.
so we have. That's the only place we've been over in the east.
Yeah.
There. So yeah, my younger son loves like
He loves anime
and
such.
everything
Yeah.
Japanese, but he's like, I don't want to go, and we're like, why? And I think he's just
It's so far away from
it's so far
home.
away, and I think the culture shock. He's just nervous, but we'll see.
But I think if he went, then I feel like he would have a blast.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I guess that brings us. What was your favorite experience at any of the fan expos you've been to? Do you have a favorite experience, Keith? No, just the whole thing being there.
Yeah.
You were like a minor.
Well-
You're like a celebrity there. Like you're
Yeah.
showing off your content. People chatting with you.
He's humble.
He's humble.
No, but 22 when we went to celebration in 22 was pretty cool because we got to see behind the scene. We got to experience what people see when they're there live in the seats, you know what I mean? Rather than being at home where you get that black screen when they don't want you to see anything. We didn't have to worry about that. So we were nice. It was cool for us to attend the Bad Batch panel, the season 2 panel. Tales of the Jedi, the first season of Tales of the Jedi. We got to see the first episode of that. So that was
the circle one.
yeah, right, exactly. And that was awesome,
Yeah.
And it was the Bad Batch panel. We had good seats at the panel, by the way. We got there pretty early. And sitting right behind us was Alex and Molly, a Star Wars Explained.
Oh.
Plain.
Yeah.
Alex,
And
I love them so much, and I hope we can have them on someday.
Have them on.
I work with AJ from the HoloNet Marauders. He and I work at the same job together, and he's had Molly and Alex on like plenty of times before. I'm just like, I want to have them on our podcast so badly. They're so sweet, so kind, and just like so positive about Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're very good.
There's something about sharing those moments with 2, 3, 5,000 more other people who share that same passion with you, like being in those rooms when I remember. So I've been working. I've only ever attended at Celebration as a regular, like just a convention goer once. Every other time I've been behind the scenes. But there was one when they released the first teaser for The Force Awakens, and they showed, I was working that main stage, and we were always backstage, and we could only see everything from little screens that like the stage managers were watching, and everybody else is screaming, and we're like, we want to see it on the big screen, want to see it on the big screen. And so they start showing that trailer, and we like jumped out of the curtains, sprawled on the ground in front of the big screen. And then that's that scene where Han and Chewie come back on the Falcon, and Han was like,
that trailer,
and Han goes, Chewie, we're home. And it was just like everybody like erupted. And it's just, there's something about being able to share that. You just don't get the same connection when you're just watching it on TV with everybody else, right? You want to feel that energy.
I didn't have that experience until I worked Celebration last year when I was stationed at the main Celebration stage, and I got to see all the exclusive trailers, the extended Ahsoka trailer with Thrawn, and I was freaking out, and was like, oh my god, like this is absolutely amazing. And now I know what it feels like to like witness an exclusive trailer that's only shown to like 5,000 people. And like
the other night I was watching. Did you watch any of the streams from San Diego Comic-Con? Yeah, you guys did, right? From San Diego.
The Marvel?
Yeah, the
Marvel.
Yes,
exactly. Yes.
That's right, because you guys were chatting about that.
Yeah.
I was up late, like laying on the couch, refreshing Twitter, like, come on, tell me what's does somebody have another sneak? Because like there were certain ones that they streamed or
was
you
it
could
D23?
see. Oh, D23. That's what
was it D23 or was it San Diego Comic-Con?
I think it was San
Diego.
Diego.
Maybe both.
I think possibly both, but I was up really late, like just refresh, trying to find things. So, but yeah, you make it back out to Boston. We would love to see if you make it back out to Boston.
Yes, absolutely.
We would definitely love to connect with you guys again. So
absolutely.
But,
yeah, Boston, pretty cool.
Do you have any tips for us as we continue down this journey of podcasting?
Well, it's a simple tip, but it seems obvious, but sometimes it's very hard to do when you're in front of a camera. But be yourself. Just just have your own voice. Don't worry about how you sound. And I'm saying this for me personally. I don't think I have a great voice for podcasting, but it's not about how you sound, but what you say. So as long as you're showing people who are watching or listening that you're having fun, that you're laughing, that you're inclusive, you're not trying to act like a gatekeeper, or you think that your opinions matter and other people's don't. I think just as long as you're not doing that, and you're really just talking about what really drives you, what is your passion, that's really all you need.
I have enjoyed when you and Keith have conversations, and Keith has a different perspective than you. And I love and I always sit there and think, well, because he's seeing it from, 7th grader Keith, as opposed to full grown adult Kerwin. Keith, what do you think about your dad's opinions on some things? Do you get it?
Yeah,
where you're coming from?
The thing, most of the time we agree on stuff, but like sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you something. When Keith, when he has a point to make, he's going to express himself. And you might have seen in past episodes when Keith is on a roll.
Yep.
He's on a roll. He'll keep going. I barely get a word in sometimes. It's just, so I just have to sit and listen to him.
Yeah.
But
you make it sound like it's not fun.
No, well, I was see, you just interrupted me. No, but I love that because I want him to show his passion. I want him to express his opinions, and we don't have to agree on everything, and I think that's what makes it the conversation exciting. It's not like, oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 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 same thing. Yeah. No, it's not that,
Yeah.
So I like it when we don't agree on things. I think
Yeah.
it just makes for a more
Yeah.
compelling argument or conversation.
If everyone agreed, like everyone in the world agreed on something, then the world wouldn't be interesting.
It wouldn't be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually, it's funny that you say that. I just finished listening to the latest episode of Trevor Noah's podcast. I don't know if you listened to it. It's called What Now, and he had they were having a conversation. It was with he was a scientist of, I don't know, sociology or something, I think. And they were talking about the value of having different perspectives and different beliefs. And it's not necessarily about getting somebody fully onto your side. It's allowing people to have being comfortable, being able to be like, this is my perspective and this is my belief. And having other people to sit and listen and say, okay, I see where I now better understand why you feel that way. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to convince that person to be in line with you, but it's just allowing everybody having a conversation, being like, I think, The Force Awakens is the best movie, right? And some people be like, what? But it's all based on your perspective and where you come from and your experiences, and there's
Exactly.
value to that. So that's what we're trying to get out of our podcast,
Yeah.
is that me being a Gen Xer and Walker being a Gen Zer, sometimes he has different perspectives on things, and I was like, not my favorite episode, or that wasn't my favorite character, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong in thinking that. So I totally get it. So actually, Keith, I was going to ask you, you guys were having a really big, I won't say a debate, but a good conversation about Robert Downey Jr.
as Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom. And I know that you were like, what's the point? Blah, blah, blah. My perspective on it, we watched, I think, another podcast, or maybe my husband was telling me, there's a storyline in one of the comics where Tony Stark becomes Dr. Doom. He goes bad instead of good. And possibly that's what they're trying to do.
I think if that is like the case with it, then I definitely think that's where they sort of got the inspiration to where, like, let's bring Robert back to the MCU and let's make him the MCU's version of Dr. Doom as like a Tony Stark who was Iron Man but who went bad.
Yeah. My concern is I don't want to be left with thinking Robert Downey Jr. is bad, right? I would hope that at the end of it, it somehow converts back that it's like he is Iron Man, as he says, I am Iron Man.
Well, that's good to know. That makes sense. I'm not familiar with the comic book issue where Tony is, I guess he's a variant of Doom in the comics, but I think that's something that should be explained to the audience, at some point, because we don't know if he is playing Tony Stark,
right?
Or if he's playing Tony Stark, that's a variant of Dr. Doom, or he's playing Dr. Doom, So it was, I think that was the confusion when we heard that he was coming back. He's like, you can't see Downey being anybody else but Tony.
Yeah, and I really hope that they don't make Tony Stark the main Doctor Doom in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because, there is a Doctor Doom who's been the Doctor Doom for a while now. So it wouldn't make sense to not give him his story. Yeah.
I think Secret Wars, because they keep saying that Secret Wars might be a soft reboot of the MCU. I think that could turn out to be like Doctor Doom is a whole entirely different person, and this is who the new Doctor Doom is from now on, instead of Robert Downey Jr.
It'll be interesting. I'm open to anything. I like to sit there and just take it all in, and then be like,
well,
story.
The best part of all this is that they do have a plan.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, but they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. They're doing it for a reason. It's not just because, hey, we need you because, we're losing a lot of money and we need to, bring somebody back to bring the audience back into the theaters. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be a story behind it. Story is the key. So it just sounds like they have something planned for us. And I
Keith,
can't wait.
So Keith, you saw Deadpool and Wolverine. What did you think about Chris Evans being the Human Torch?
It was funny. I saw those Fantastic Four movies a while ago. I don't remember Johnny Storm having such a potty mouth, but
Right, yeah.
That was a crazy cameo.
Yeah, that was great.
You don't hear Chris Evans saying like those words as Captain America. He's the
No,
one who
not-
says language in Age of Ultron, telling Tony, he's like, "Don't swear, Tony," and such.
But I think he tries to be the complete opposite in every other movie he makes.
Absolutely.
Like Knives Out. Like
Oh yeah.
like he was the jerk in Knives Out. So
He was in Knives Out.
He wasn't nice.
He
Yeah.
was.
He was awesome. in
That's
that
like one
movie.
of our favorite films. We'll watch that over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love that one. So, well, with that, we have some fun questions. That kind of leads us right into our fun questions. We're to moving on from podcasts. So we and we sent them to you ahead of time. So hopefully, maybe you've had some in your head of what your answers are. But we wanted to know some of your.
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Yeah, who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Favorite Star Wars character. Okay, I'll start. Darth Vader, without a doubt. I loved him from the very first time I saw him. You know, he's just very powerful,
Yep.
very imposing.
Mhm.
He scared a lot of people. You know, not that that's the type of person I'd like to be. I don't want to be. Although Keith thinks I am Darth Vader. Yeah, I don't want to come off as being that way, but I think he's just a character you just can't take your eyes off of.
Yeah. What about you, Keith?
My favorite character is Ahsoka. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I remember watching the Clone Wars back in like 2017, like a while ago, actually. That's when I first saw it. Back when it was on Netflix, if anybody remembers that.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
So,
We
that's
used
when I
to
first saw
do-
it. I'm like, she's kind of like me, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do It used to be on Friday nights, right?
Friday nights.
Friday
on Cartoon
nights.
Network.
So Friday nights was my husband would bring pizza home, and we'd all sit down and watch Clone Wars. Like that was our family thing.
The newest episode of Clone
And then they
Wars,
moved it to Sunday, and then Dad couldn't watch it with us anymore, and so
Yeah.
it kind of like it was no longer a family thing. I mean, Walker and I continued watching it, but
Yeah.
yes, we love Ahsoka. So
I know Clone Wars just had its 16th anniversary yesterday.
yeah,
and
that's right.
I feel old.
You felt.
I feel old.
I don't know. Keith and I are going to be
Oh, I
celebrating
know.
Star Wars 50th. That
I
makes us
know.
old. Your next question.
Oh, here we go. So what is your favorite Star Wars content? It could be a movie, TV show, game, or book. Comic books.
Yep. Anything.
I don't know if this counts, but I did quite enjoy Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. I think it is one of the best games, and not just the Star Wars Lego franchise, but Lego as a whole. Like, it's got so many characters. And first of all, I wish they would have brought over some of the characters into Skywalker Saga, like the entire Rebels crew. I really wish they would have given us Clone Wars Ahsoka as well, because we got Clone Wars Anakin and Obi-Wan in that game. The custom characters are lovely, and you get 3 lightsaber colors that aren't even like in Star Wars at the time: yellow, white, and pink. Those were awesome to put on my custom characters. So
I remember that.
Yeah, I'm a big original trilogy fan.
Yeah.
So The Empire Strikes Back is just the pinnacle for me.
Right.
You know, I don't think that's going to change. But I've seen that movie more than most movies I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. The Empire Strikes Back.
Walker is a big Lego fan.
I am.
And he played all the video games, or most of them.
I've played most of them. I haven't played the Skywalker Saga yet.
You haven't played them. And then I, like you, Kerwin, am a original trilogy child, and I will always those will always be my favorite. But Empire Strikes Back, I'm with you. It's just it can never be not the best. I don't care what content they come up with, but you know, they're all will always be number 2. Is Empire Strikes Back. So my question is, so now we're going to move on to other things, not Star Wars. Who is your favorite superhero? In any, it doesn't have to be Marvel, it doesn't have to be DC. There's some other favorite superhero. Do you have a favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yep.
Close second is the Flash.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Cool.
Yes, specifically the CW one, because the DCU Flash is problematic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's
Did-
interesting.
Which Spider-Man? Is Spider-Man just in general, or is it a Spider-Man from?
Yeah, Spider-Man in general, but Tom Holland's a great Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first the first comic book I ever read was actually a Wolverine comic. But then it was Fantastic Four, and then it was the Spider-Man. So my favorite comic books when I was a young teenager was Fantastic Four, all the Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Man, and then X-Men. So yes, I was a big Spider-Man fan. What about you, Kerwin? Do you have a favorite superhero?
Yeah, it would have to be Batman. Going back to Adam West.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
It's just I just remember, maybe junior high or high school, just after school, running home to catch Batman on reruns, and I've watched every episode, and
yeah.
I loved it. I loved the campiness. I
'Cause
loved
that show came out in '66.
Yeah, well, I saw it in reruns years
Yeah.
after that, but you know,
It was
but
new
yeah,
to us though.
I
It was
never missed an episode of Batman. So it started with Batman.
I do. My uncle, who we just went to visit in New York, was big into that like campiness, that kind of thing. So we would watch it together. But I remember he made a T-shirt or something, and he used the pow bam, and he had like them going up like the wall where they're like, well, they were just walking on the ground. But I love that era.
Yeah. Ooh. So, Marvel or DC? Which one do you like more,
Marvel.
and why?
Because it's Marvel. Like I feel like the problem with DC is they just have so much going for them. Like they had the Dark Knight trilogy, and then immediately after that they had Man of Steel, but they've had like 2 Superman before that.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, Superman Returns was like supposed to be a continuation of the Christopher Reeve Superman, but with a different actor and a different suit. I don't know what happened there. I haven't even seen that movie yet. And then while we had that going, we had the Arrowverse, and then Flash came in there. And then in 2016, the Flash showed up in Justice League. But then the Flash was also in CW during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then we had the Arrowverse and DCU running at the same time. Superman was supposed to come back, and then he didn't. Batman just got done completely dirty.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that Grant Gustin never got to show up in the Flash movie, even though he was the Flash even before Ezra Miller took their turn with the character. So I don't know what was going on there.
It's too many jumping around.
Yeah, Marvel has like a very concerted effort to make all their TV shows and movies and games and stuff all line up with each other.
Connect.
Like they'll even run comic book stories that tie into the films. Like I remember during What If there was a Captain Carter comic book run. That's a tongue twist. Captain Carter comic book.
Well, I grew up reading Marvel comics, so it's got to be Marvel for me over DC. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't buy that many DC comics. I didn't really get into DC until Superman the movie, and I enjoyed the films with Christopher Reeve, the Nolan Batman. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
But Marvel goes way back, further back for me. With Moon Knight. I collected Moon Knight. And
Moon Knight,
Spider-Man.
really?
I've just started to.
Yeah, I still have those issues, back from the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, so Marvel.
That's so
I
cool.
will say though, DC does have some very iconic scores, like Batman and Superman. Like fun fact, in Lego DC superheroes, when you fly as Superman, you hear the John Williams Superman theme as you're flying.
Really?
Oh, I
very
think I
cool.
remember that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Walker, when
way
he
to
was
do it.
very little, got into Batman. He was very much into Batman, and then into Robin. He was
When it
huge.
comes to DC, I'm a Batman in the Bat family person. I love Nightwing. I love Robin, Red Hood, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, Batgirl, and such. And I'm just like, I'm a big fan of those characters. Besides that, I think it's good, but like if it's not like Batman and Nightwing and such, then I'm just like, I'm not really into those.
He would come to me and ask me these questions about Batman, and I was like, I'm a Marvel girl.
I don't have those answers.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think Batman is kind of like the Spider-Man of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Because, he's like the main character of DC. He has so many side characters, so many Robins. There's like 5 of them.
Lots of villains.
And then like a whole rogues gallery, which is why I compared it to Spider-Man, because Spider-Man has like the largest rogues gallery known to man. Same with Batman and like their own little city to protect.
Good point.
Another thing about Marvel that I really prefer is that everything happens in New York, so it's not uncommon to have a bunch of heroes team up, even in smaller stories. Whereas with DC, if you wanted to see heroes team up, you were either reading Bat Family comics, or you were reading Justice League comics, or
Yeah.
related media.
Wait, that's what I was gonna say, that for me, even though like, I can travel to a galaxy far, far away and be totally immersed in it, believe that I'm like on any of those planets. But when it comes to the comic books, Marvel takes place in real world. Like it's in New York, it's in San Francisco, it's in like they've made up a few, Wakanda and some other place, Sokovia. Yeah, that's a made up place. But most of them are real world places, and so I'm like, oh, I recognize that. But the DC tends to be places that are almost like Earth places, but not quite. And so I'm just like, where are we? So I think that that's one of the reasons why I like that. But yeah, no. So, but again, we all have different experiences, and I think everybody, you can like both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Totally.
DC
So
doesn't have a lot of like non-superpowered heroes, actually.
Mhm.
But other than the Bat Family, who is there that doesn't have powers that is still a superhero? Whereas with Marvel, you have like Daredevil and Moon Knight and characters like them.
yeah.
Blade doesn't really count because he has vampire powers. Same with Cloak and Dagger because they also have powers. But like people like them, All right, I'm gonna stop yapping now.
No, that was good. No.
I was gonna say we have about like
10 minutes.
10 more minutes. So that's actually a good question. I was gonna say, so out of all the superheroes, is there any that you would love to see on like the big screen that have not appeared on the big screen?
I would say the Fantastic Four, but they're coming.
They're coming.
But I'd really like to see the X-Men in Marvel and before Secret Wars too. Because we have like 3 years to get an X-Men movie, and I don't think it's gonna happen. So unless they pull like a Days of Future Past Part 2 and somehow retcon the X-Men into the MCU universe, I don't know when we're gonna get that.
Yeah.
I hope we do, because the X-Men are a pretty big part of Secret Wars. Same with Magneto, he's pretty big in that story. So, maybe make an X-Men movie sometime soon.
That's what I would love to see, because I was a big X-Men fan. I would love to see the MCU X-Men. I would like to see that. What about you, Kerwin?
Yeah, I've been saying this for years. I know Keith is tired of me talking about it, but I think it's time for a Dr. Aphra series.
Oh,
yeah. Because, Indiana Jones, archaeologist, but, he's retired now. So they need to come up with someone fresh and new. And they already have a character right there from the comic book. So I think it's time to adapt her and, get a writer to write it. Crash Wong maybe can do it as well. But yeah, just get someone to start working on this series and developing the series. I think it would be a great Disney Plus series, maybe not for the films because she's not that well known.
Yeah.
But get her in some
Disney
type
Plus
of
series written by Alyssa Long would be absolutely fire.
Exactly.
Like I'd pay good money to see that.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many worlds now with all the different shows that to have somebody kind of like pop around on all those different and be like doing the Indiana Jones thing on some of those places that we've already been introduced to, but doing it from a different perspective would be really kind of cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
So last fun question is, what is your favorite video game?
You already know my favorite video game.
I just said it.
Now I'll
He
tell
doesn't play video games.
right. I am not a big.
Boring.
I was gonna
I
say,
know I'm boring that way, but yeah, I haven't played video games since I had a PlayStation 2, about 20 some odd years ago. I had NBA basketball. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite video game. I did I had Sega.
Yep.
Back in the day,
What happened in Sega?
What do you mean?
Did they die or something?
I think they just went out of business.
I don't
or
hear
they got
anything about Sega.
replaced
I'm pretty
Sega.
sure Sonic is like a public asset now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had a great Sega console and I would play baseball on that, but that's it.
We
Yeah.
should get a Wii.
my favorite video game to this day is still Pong. Boom, 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 boom. I love Pong. The first video game ever where the little ball just went back and forth. I could play that one forever. But I'm
Wow.
like you. I don't play video games. So
Yeah.
well, we really appreciate you taking this time to chat and sharing your experience about podcasting and then sharing all your fun, geeky pop culture interests. We always end our podcasts. We had traveled for Star Wars Celebration to London, and we got this little Star Wars conversation card box, and we always end our podcast pulling a card out and answering it. So
I think
we
it's
would love for you guys to answer
Yeah.
it. So we have about 5 minutes, so we're going to answer it quick. So the question is, we're going to let you guys go first. You're a Star Wars matchmaker. Oh my goodness. Which 2 characters would you set up on a first date?
Interesting. Okay.
That's an interesting topic. Any 2
I don't know.
characters?
I've never thought about that.
I'll go.
Yep.
I always thought Son of Staros and Lando would have made a great couple.
Oh,
yeah.
yep. Yep. Very cool.
Because they're both smugglers.
Yep.
They're they what was the term that Han Solo called Lando?
A swindler?
Well, yeah, he's a swindler, scoundrel. They're both, yeah,
Scoundrel,
so they they do take people's money. They have a lot in common. They're scoundrels, so I thought they would make a great team.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody needs to have a first date there, Keith?
No.
No, he's only in 7th grade. He's not
Peter
thinking
Parker and gotta be Peter and somebody else.
Yeah, but this is a Star Wars question.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, you're right. Yes, this is
Question.
a Star Wars question. Good point. Yes.
I don't know. I think Walker's thought about some.
I'm thinking about it. I don't know who.
I
Yeah,
think.
you go ahead, Walker.
What kind of question is that?
Go ahead.
Who do you have?
You get none.
I mean, I really got nothing.
I don't know. I don't know who he would be. I think Wedge Antilles needs to be hooked up with somebody.
What you already had?
Well, in the old canon.
Well, so did in the Aftermath trilogy too.
Oh, that's right. He did
Nora.
get Nora.
Yeah.
Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
with Snap
Snap Wesley's. Oh, he's
Yeah.
Snap Wesley's stepdad.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
With what?
Yeah, in the we have the book, Resistance Reborn, I think it's called, or
Yeah.
but yeah, so he married Snap Wexley's mom.
Yep.
Yep. So
Well, that's unfortunate because I'm pretty sure Snap Wexley died in the Rise
Yeah,
of
I
Skywalker.
know. And I was gonna say
Yeah.
Wedge outlived him.
that did happen.
Ooh, that's gotta.
Uh,
that's
Well, yeah, that's a
sad.
big
Wanna end
loss.
We don't want to end it on a sad note.
But yeah,
Um,
but at least Nora and Wedge lived happily ever after, as far as we know.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh,
we
that's
want to thank you both again for taking the time,
Mhm.
answering all our silly questions.
Yeah. This was so much fun.
And yeah, we know that we'll stay in touch. And if you guys make it out to Boston again, or if we make it out to Philly,
Philly. Yeah.
we will definitely connect. So, but thank you, and thank Tanya for helping. She's in the
Yeah.
background.
welcome.
Yeah, this was
welcome.
awesome. Yeah, we really enjoy what you what you do and what you talk about in your relationship. So we will continue to watch.
Perfect. And we'll be
Yeah.
watching you and supporting you and sharing it out
Yeah.
and keeping it going. So thank you again for being our inspiration.
Yeah.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope you guys have a good night and good luck in the 7th grade, Keith.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, let us know if you need anything. Okay.
We will, most definitely.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you guys. Take care. So what do you think, Walker? How was that?
I thought it was fantastic.
Did you enjoy that conversation?
Yes, I did.
Yes, it was so much fun. I had so many more questions I wanted to ask, really. But it was just, I just really enjoy talking with Kerwin and Keith.
Yeah.
Kerwin and I are from the same generation. Keith is a little younger than you, but you guys have a lot in common.
Yeah.
So it was so much fun to have them on our podcast, and we want to thank them for joining us. Walker, how do you find Father Son Galaxy podcast?
You can find them on basically every single social media platform.
They're everywhere.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and
There were ones that we've never even heard of.
yeah.
But we will list all their information in the description below.
Yep.
And we'll share it on our own Instagram channel as well.
Yes.
And how are they going to find us, Walker?
Well, they can find us right here on YouTube.
Because you're watching it here on YouTube. We assume.
Yes. And you can also find us on Instagram, and hopefully in the near future we hope to expand to more social media platforms.
Yeah. Walker may dip his toe into Twitter/X. He's not on that platform, but he might take over our profile for that.
will be interesting to say the least.
So if we join X, please be kind, because Walker's new to that platform, and we'll be testing it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So make sure to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and turn on those notification bells so you can get notified whenever we upload our next interview or podcast episode.
Yes, we're hoping for future. We have plans for so many more future episodes. But thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to our next episode.
Take care.